There are scripts that feel like a bunch of separate headlines. Not today. Today feels more like a closed-door meeting in Costa Mesa. Hortiz comes out of the draft with more pieces than he had going in. A trade with New England starts aging beautifully for Los Angeles. A quiet veteran could reshape the defensive front. Mike McDaniel is already influencing even the side of the ball he does not directly run, and an old face of the franchise is stepping into a heavy legacy conversation. Hit the like button and subscribe, because this Chargers backroom read is speaking louder than a lot of headlines. The best part of this first story is that it does not jump out screaming. It shows up in the details, in those draft day moves that look like small position shifts at first, then slowly reveal the executive's hand. Joe Hortiz walked in with 5 picks and walked out with 8. For a roster that needed real depth, that is not front office housekeeping. That is cold, calculated roster building. Los Angeles added 4 offensive linemen, a fast wide receiver, a pass rusher who looks ready for the league, and more defensive pieces. And when you look at it through the Chargers lens, the message feels pretty clear. Hortiz was not chasing applause in a headline. He was trying to make sure the 2026 season does not depend on 2 or 3 starters staying healthy for the entire year. Anybody who follows this team knows depth can become the difference once December arrives. Then comes the juiciest part behind the scenes. The trade with the Patriots, the one where the Chargers sent pick 55 and got picks 63, 131, and 202, brought Jake Slaughter to Los Angeles. And right now, it looks like Slaughter was exactly the kind of piece Hortiz wanted to target, a center/guard, a player with a real path to compete for the left guard job in training camp, and an option who can solve more than one emergency on the interior. If Slaughter gives them playable snaps at guard this season, that trade starts looking like a textbook win. But it gets even better when you look across the table. New England moved up for Jesus, and now Jackus still has not signed his rookie contract, has not appeared in the Patriots offseason program, and according to Chad Graff of The Athletic, had a procedure this offseason with no public clarity around how aligned that was with the team. That is the kind of detail a smart front office notices before everyone else turns it into drama. While some teams chase the name, Hortiz seems to have chased the structure. The Patriots need Jacques right away because they lost pieces at outside linebacker and are leaning on productive veterans, but not exactly a true alpha pass rusher. A rookie who misses OTAs, misses minicamp, and still does not have his deal done, walks into training camp behind in rhythm, scheme, and confidence. And for the Chargers, that is the quiet confirmation. Sometimes the best move is not taking the loudest player. It is stepping away from the confusion, stacking picks, getting the target who fits the plan, and letting another team carry the problem. That is where the script turns down a different hallway inside the building. Because if Hortiz showed in the draft that he was buying depth, the defense also has a piece that has been almost too quiet for how big the impact could become. Dalvin Tomlinson did not arrive with star noise. He has not become a daily OTA conversation. He did not come with the kind of highlight package that sets the fan base on fire. But sometimes the most important move for a defense is the one that cleans up the mess so everyone else can look better. From the outside, someone might say the Chargers' run defense in 2025 was good enough. Top 10 in total rushing yards allowed, solid overall numbers, the kind of spreadsheet read that feels comfortable. But anyone who actually watched the games knows there was a crack in there. The issue was not getting bullied every single week. The issue was never knowing when the ground was going to give out. Against Jacksonville in Week 11, it gave out badly. 192 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. That is not a small stumble. That is an identity alarm. Tomlinson steps directly into that conversation. He is coming off a season in Arizona where he played 48% of the defensive snaps, posted 26 combined tackles, and had 3 tackles for loss. He also had 6 missed tackles, and you cannot just wave that away, especially for a player who did not have a massive number of opportunities. But the backroom question is different. Did Arizona really squeeze everything Tomlinson can still give? I am not so sure. At 335 pounds, he can be the heavy nose tackle who locks down the interior, but his career shows something more valuable than just size. In Minnesota in 2022, he moved across different techniques on the line: nose tackle, defensive tackle, lined up over the offensive tackle, and even some wider snaps. That gives Chris O'Leary a tool who does not need to be spectacular every Sunday to matter. He has to be reliable. He has to take up space. He has to keep guards from climbing clean to the second level. He has to make the game cleaner for linebackers, safeties, and the young players up front. And this is the Chargers' read. Messidor and Genesis Smith get attention because they are future energy development. Tomlinson is a different kind of bet. He is the attempt to reduce chaos. In an AFC where one bad drive in January can end everything, Los Angeles does not only need athletes who flash, it needs adults in the trenches who stop the bleeding before it turns into disaster. If Tomlinson improves the consistency, the whole defense changes temperature. Suddenly, O'Leary does not have to call games while constantly trying to hide instability. Derwin James can be used with more intention. The line rotation is not as exposed. And the Chargers gain something that does not always show up in a thumbnail, but absolutely shows up in hard wins. Trust in the middle of the defense. Then hold on to this turn, because the third story is not about a player arriving, or a contract, or a depth statistic. It is about voice inside the building. And when an offensive coordinator starts being described as someone who has already changed the energy of the whole roster, we are not just talking playbook. We are talking internal power, trust, and leadership. Omar Ruiz of NFL Network brought a strong read on Mike McDaniel in Los Angeles. The expectation when he arrived to run the offense was obvious. Elevate Justin Herbert, bring more explosion to that unit, and give the Chargers offense a more modern, more creative, harder to predict identity. But the inside picture Ruiz described goes beyond that. According to him, McDaniel quickly became a central voice in shaping the environment, earning trust from players and coaches inside Jim Harbaugh's structure. That grabs my attention because Harbaugh and McDaniel are very different stylistically, but they share one thing: strong football personalities. Harbaugh brings discipline, physical line play, daily competition, that program energy built to last. McDaniel brings rhythm, space, offensive detail, smart design, and a very specific way of finding leverage. If those two forces are really fitting together, the Chargers might be building something more dangerous than just a pretty offense. The most important line is that Harbaugh reportedly said everyone has bought into McDaniel's vision. And Ruiz went even further by saying McDaniel's impact on the defense has been huge. That is pure behind-the-scenes material. When an offensive coordinator talks daily with Derwin James about what is working and what is not working in practice, the defense benefits too. Because Derwin is not just seeing plays. He is testing logic, routes, space, manipulation, tendencies. That is high-level football being traded back and forth. Chris O'Leary is part of that picture too, because a first-year defensive coordinator needs that smart friction. Ruiz said McDaniel pops into O'Leary's office sometimes to offer different perspectives. That does not diminish O'Leary. It can actually speed up his curve because the defense gets to train against ideas that genuinely bother people. I want the community's read here. Do you think McDaniel is simply the adjustment Herbert needed? Or is this building-wide impact the sign that the Chargers found a bigger cultural piece than it first seemed? My feeling is simple. When the offense makes the defense better during the week, Sundays feel a lot less improvised. And then comes the story that hits differently, because it is not only about the current roster, it is memory. It is a piece of the bridge between San Diego and Los Angeles maybe reaching the end without the clean goodbye everyone would have liked to see. Adam Schefter said on his podcast that he believes it is more likely than not that Joey Bosa has already played his last NFL snap. Bosa has not announced retirement, so that is not an official ending. But the sound around the league is getting too quiet to ignore. Joey was the third overall pick in 2016, back with the San Diego Chargers, out of Ohio State. His NFL entrance started rocky, with a long holdout, a missed training camp, a preseason thrown off track, and he still came in and won Defensive Rookie of the Year. 11 sacks as a rookie, 4 Pro Bowl selections across his career, 43 sacks in his first 4 years. When he was whole, Bosa was the kind of edge rusher who changed the tackle's behavior before the ball was even snapped. But his story was never simple. Maybe that is what makes this moment feel so strange. Chargers fans remember the dominance, the burst, the afternoons where he looked capable of wrecking an offensive plan by himself. They also remember the injuries, the absences, the attempts to restart. The 5-year, $150 million extension before 2020 felt like confirmation that Los Angeles had a defensive anchor for years. Then came the concussion, the shin injury, broken seasons, and that brutal feeling that his body never let the talent finish the sentence. In 2024, with Jim Harbaugh arriving and Joe Hortiz facing tough salary cap decisions, Bosa took a pay cut to stay with the Chargers alongside Khalil Mack. That deserves respect. It does not erase the frustration. It does not change the fact that availability became a problem. But it shows he tried to stay for one more run. His final season in Los Angeles did not give back the perfect story. If this really is the end, the legacy debate is going to get intense. Bosa is second all-time in sacks in franchise history, behind only Leslie O'Neal. That is not a small thing. Chargers Hall of Fame? I think that conversation is coming, and when it does, the question will not only be what was missing, it will also be how much fear he put into offenses when his body let him. When you pull it all together, the Chargers' day leaves a very clear message. What happens away from the spotlight can decide a lot. Hortiz turned one trade into depth and may have avoided an expensive problem. Tomlinson could be the veteran who stabilizes the trenches. McDaniel already looks like more than an offensive coordinator. He looks like real influence inside the building. And Bosa reminds everyone that giant talent also needs body, timing, and a worthy ending. If you feel Los Angeles is building something more serious, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment which one of these behind-the-scenes signals changes your confidence the most for 2026.